Hi, long time no see. So what happened was, a little over a week ago, I went into the ER, ended up having to have emergency surgery. So I'm gonna take you with me through the little story. I'm in the recovery stages now. Today is actually the first day that I put on some clothes and did all of this. So I felt like going ahead and doing a video to let you know why I've been MIA. So if you've been watching my videos for quite some time, you may have heard me mentioning issues with like stomach problems a lot, or in relation to eating possibly. And I had went to the ER once in relation to this issue. At this rate, I think it was a year or two ago now, and they told me it was just a ruptured ovarian cyst, which is common, it's normal, it happens. As long as you know nothing gets infected, you're good. I did a follow-up, and the regular doctor pretty much said the same thing. You're just gonna have to tough it out. When you get one of those, it happens. So I was like, okay, that sucks, because this really is extremely painful, and you know, I'd already had 5 episodes of this previously, you know. So I was like, this is gonna suck if this is my new normal. And I do apologize, it is close to hitting 100 degrees, so as soon as I put this makeup on, it already started sweating off, and I can just feel little sweat droplets all over my face. It's all coming down. Okay, so, and ultimately I just was putting this situation off. I mean, they said it was common, it's normal, it's a thing. So I just kept putting it off because, you know, what else are you gonna do about it? Well, last weekend is Saturday. My brother dropped his kids off here all day, so I was stuck babysitting that whole entire day. And I worked. Did I work? I don't know if I worked, but I was definitely babysitting that day. And towards the end of the day, me and my daughter, we had ate, and I was about to hope that he hurried up and picked up his kids, so me and my daughter could take a nap, because my son had already laid down and was taking a nap. So we'd ate, and then not long after, I go to the living room and sit down on the couch, and then I get this pain in my stomach. It kind of feels like in the beginning of the pain, it kind of feels like maybe like a mild to moderate like gas bubble, like a big one or something, or kind of like a little bit of menstrual cramping kind of feeling. It's kind of like what it feels like when it starts. So it's kind of one of those things that's like, oh, maybe if I move around a little bit, or try to go to the bathroom or something, maybe if I eat or whatever, like if I do a little bit of something, maybe it'll go away. So I was gonna wait it out, but my brother still wasn't here to pick up his kids. But then it intensifies, okay? And then the only way I know how to describe it is it intensifies to probably like being 6 centimeters dilated during labor with no epidural, no nothing. And it's just like waves of pain shooting out everywhere, coming from the bottom to the top, everywhere, in your back, everywhere. And it's bad, alright? And when I would get this, it would last probably 20 to 30 minutes. I've passed out on them before. I've puked. And I definitely cannot stand up or move around, and it's hard to talk. Right? So I went into one of these attacks, and by the time my brother, sorry, I might be doing a lot of that. It's because I'm sweating, and the sweat is like getting on my lip, and it's bothering me. But so by the time my brother showed up, I was probably, the pain had intensified enough to where I was probably like, I don't know, 2-3 centimeters dilated, no epidural. So I'm rolling around on the couch, you know, and my niece, she's like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know. So he shows up, they take me to the ER, And, you know, I'm full blown hanging off the rails of the inside of the car. Stomach exploding, okay? So I go in and I'm in there forever. Right? I'm in there all evening from probably like 3, 4, 5 o'clock, somewhere in there, to end up being midnight. So I get in there. Oh, also, see all these bruises? We'll get to that. I got plenty. And they still haven't went away. It's been a week since my surgery or whatever, and I still have all these bruises. You know what? Let me see. There's a little bit of bruising right there in live action. This is like a week after surgery. Yeah, today's the first day I'm wearing like clothes, you know, and it's bothering me a little bit. Where was I at in the story? Okay, so it was a Saturday. So I get to the ER. I spend major like 6 hours there at least. So when you're in the ER, you're not admitted, so they don't bring you no food, no drink, no nothing. And I just ate a little bit of food because my stomach had already started, you know, cramping around or whatever. So I'm in there forever, and they send me to get a CAT scan. And when the CAT scan comes back, they're like, okay, they're like, you have some gallstones and you have a UTI. They're like, we're not really sure where all this pain is coming from, but it might be the UTI. So we're gonna send you home, take the meds, lay off the caffeine. So I was like, oh, okay. So they sent me home at midnight. I come home, I go to sleep. Right, I had to work the next morning. I go to sleep, wake up in the morning, work. So Sunday I had to work. I worked, and then after I got out of work, my stomach was feeling a little crampy. So I was like, oh, well, I haven't eaten yet today. You know, I should probably eat a little something. So I had like a little bit of breakfast. And then like within 20 to 30 minutes, maybe an hour, here we are. I'm in full blown like whatever pain, cramping attack mode. And I'm rolling around in the bed. Ooh, like freaking out, you know. Well, my daughter calls her grandparents, and she's like, her belly hurts, she needs to go back to the hospital. And so I was like, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with me. But they, you know, they're saying like it's pretty much nothing. But I was like, there's definitely something wrong with me. So I go back to the ER Sunday. The next day, I still have my wristband on. And I was like, I just got out of here not long ago. I said, I'm in here for the same thing. Like, I don't know, my stomach is exploding. And by this time, this time, the pain, I was already rolling around in my house, dying, I was like puking, all this stuff for at least an hour, right? And it's the longest this has ever happened. So I get into the ER again. They wheel me straight back there. After a little while, they bring me some meds, which knocked the pain out of the park, and my stomach felt fine, great. I felt normal, right? So then this dude, he was great. Okay, this doctor, he comes in and he's like, so you were here last night? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, what'd they tell you? I said, I don't know, a UTI. And he said, and some gallstones. I said, yeah. He said, yeah. He said, you definitely have some gallstones. He said, I'm going to send you for an MRI. Then he looks at me and he's like, you're going to be with me for a while. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, that gallbladder needs to come out. He's like, you've been dealing with it for a long time. He's like, it's coming out. But there was but they had to determine, I guess maybe the cause of the situation, because they were telling me that, if there was no current stone in the bile duct, then they would just take my gallbladder out. But if there was a stone in the duct, they were gonna transfer me somewhere because they're gonna have to do something else or some extra, I don't know. So that's what the MRI was supposed to be for. So anyway, they admitted me, the MRI came back that I needed my gallbladder out because there was no gallstone in the bile duct. However, most people were telling me like, oh, that ain't bad, pretty much in and out, a little short of a, outpatient procedure kind of thing. I was like, okay, I ended up being admitted for 4 days. And pretty much it's supposed to be emergency surgery, and I was like, that night not have nothing to eat or drink because that very next morning, like, they were going to do the surgery and remove my gallbladder. So midnight, can't eat no more. Midnight, can't eat no more. And also I'm posting up some pictures to go with my story, because I ended up spending the whole 4 days admitted in the hospital doing the surgery, like literally by myself. So I had some time to kind of like document it, I was like blowing up social media about having a surgery because I was just there by myself. But anyway, so Monday morning come around, I hadn't eaten nothing again in like 6 hours because, before surgery you can't eat or drink. Well, somehow, the surgery got pushed back, and I ended up having another gallbladder attack. And what they were giving me was through an IV for pain. I'm not going to say what it was because this is like YouTube. They might scream about it, but pain meds through IV. And like I said, it completely took the pain in my stomach away. Okay, but then they pushed my surgery back, right? And I had another gallbladder attack. So it was like 3 within like 24-ish hours. So they pushed my surgery back, had another gallbladder attack. They gave me the medicine like through the IV. And then they informed me that my surgery was pushed back to about noonish, right? Well, then noonish had come and still no surgery for me. And they also that's when they informed me that my heart rate was low. And since I'd been there, my heart rate was low. They said it rests in the 40s and 50s. Obviously, I'm not athletic at all. Then they put me on a heart monitor and some oxygen. And then they said they could no longer give me the pain meds through the IV because it was dropping my heart rate really low. So they switched my meds. And then I turned into one of those patients that had to have supervision because especially like after the surgery or whatever, if I like tried to roll over in the bed, somebody would come in to check on me to see like what I was doing, if I was okay or whatever. And I was like, hey, I'm just trying to roll over, it kind of hurts a little bit or whatever. And they're like, well, we're coming to check because your heart rate dropped to 32 when you was trying to roll over. So anyway, I go in. I'm pretty much like third in queue for anesthesia to go into surgery. Guess they were like busy that day or whatever. So I was in there cutting up with the people in the anesthesia part. And I think it was the anesthesiologist guy. Is it anesthesiologist or anesthesist? I don't know. The people that administer the anesthesia. He come asking me a bunch of questions because I don't like going to the doctor, and he was like, is your cardiologist talking to you about putting in a pacemaker? And I was like, what? I was like, well, one, I don't see a cardiologist. And for two, what do you mean a pacemaker? So he's like, well, where your heart rate is resting 40s, 50s, and then every time you move around, it drops super low. Like, you need to go see a cardiologist because, off the record, you're probably going to need to get a pacemaker. I was like, oh, great. And he really, you could tell he really did not want to put me under, put me to sleep, because I, wasn't seeing a cardiologist, and there was no recent medical history information about my heart, and it was so low resting that they couldn't even give me meds through IV. So he's walking off grumbling and sighing, but I pretty much told him, I'm like, I'm good, I need this gallbladder out, let's just do it, we'd be okay. But I appreciate his concern, because it's a legitimate concern. But anyway, they gave me the anesthesia, put me to sleep, did the surgery. I come out of it, and that's when they were really watching me like a hawk with the low heart rate thing. And I couldn't take a shower because, I could take a shower, but I had to kind of ask to take a shower, because for me to take a shower, they had to have either one or two people standing in, off to the side, waiting, watching, just to make sure I don't, while I'm showering. So but I ended up staying because like I said, a lot of people were trying to tell me it was it's just this shy of being an outpatient procedure. But I stayed extra time, and I don't think it was the heart rate. I think it was, the doctor said she wanted to keep a check on my enzyme levels, because my enzyme levels were still registering high. And she said if they continue to keep registering high, then I'm gonna have to be transferred anyway, so they can look at the the gallbladder bile duct to see what or if something's going on with that, in addition to the gallbladder itself. Because she said usually when they remove the gallbladder, the enzyme levels, they just, I guess, go straight down, but mine were still rising with each day afterward. But I don't know, maybe my body's just slow to adjust, because after I think 2 days, she said the numbers were going down, so she was going to go ahead and discharge me and, do the follow-up or whatever, which is coming up for me in a few days. So the surgery and the process itself, it wasn't really that bad. The recovery really hasn't been that bad either. Like I said, I'm a week into recovery, and I did it without any of the pain meds. I didn't even get my prescription filled, and I've been on my own by myself, still up and moving, and taking care of my kids just like a normal everyday. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but my incisions are starting to itch now, so I know they're healing. And it really only hurts now if I'm bending. So if I'm just standing or laying, it's not that pulling, tightness, ripping feeling anymore. So that is good. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, the surgery itself, the recovery, is actually really not that bad. And I think I just had a little bit of extra things going on that made it a little more complex for the situation. So I don't know if you're contemplating this type of situation. I'm telling you, the gallbladder attacks themselves were more pain, more stress, more aggravation than just getting the surgery itself and then doing the healing and the recovering from it. But now, like, see these bruises, I bruise really easily, probably due to my heart rate. But they had to, they had to redo my IV line like 3 different times, and on the last day I had like a double line, so, and then they had to continuously draw blood. That's how they check the enzyme levels and whatever. So they were just poking me all over the place, everywhere. But, and honestly, I think that big bruise right there is from like a blood draw, because all my IVs were on this side except for I had one in my wrist right there. But anyway, it's I'm glad I got it done. I'm kind of upset with myself that I waited so long to get it done, because now I can eat and my stomach, it doesn't instantly start hurting and cramping and all those things, and my stomach doesn't feel full 24/7. Like, my stomach was just miserable for years, miserable, and I just dealt with it. But it was the gallbladder attacks that were like taking me out, you know. And when I was getting them back to back in that last 24 hours before I had the surgery, I just couldn't do it no more. But anyway, that's where I've been. I'm off of work for another week. I'll do another video on that tomorrow. But anyway, thank you guys for watching.